Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're doing great. In previous lecture, we discussed why Jean Rees chose to write White Sargasso Sea, and today we'll discuss some of the characters of this novel, along with the portion of or the section of the first part of the novel. White Sargasso Sea, as we have already discussed, that the topic is metaphoric in a sense that it tells something about the ensnarement or trap of the characters. So, literal meaning of Sargasso Sea uh, are basically it refers to a vast area of northern Atlantic Ocean, which is home to sargassum, a kind of seaweed. So, plenty of seaweed are there. The Sargasso Sea is legendary for being an oceanic black hole where ships get ensnared by huge forests of floating seaweed or drift helplessly when the wind ceases to blow. So basically, this is a trap. Sargasso Sea is a trap for the ships, and ships are ensnared in it. So similarly, in the novel, we see that the characters are entrapped, they are ensnared in their family issues, and we would discuss in detail how Antoinette and Rochester have not very ideal married life. So we would see that how they are entrapped. So title of the novel is metaphorical, and it refers to the problems or the traps or the troubles of the characters that they face in the novel. In characters, we have some main characters here, like Rochester. Rochester is an Englishman who is, throughout the novel, we see that he is emotionless and a greedy person for money because he got married with Antoinette for the lust of money or wealth because he got a heavy dowry as a result of marrying Antoinette. So the second character and very important character is Antoinette. Antoinette basically is a Creole girl, a hybrid breed, um, and she goes insane after her marriage fails because she is very much in stress and in depression. So she was unable to sustain that stress or depression. That's why she got mad or insane. Then we have Mr. Mason, a rich British who becomes the cause of his family's downfall. So he is the reason of his own family's downfall. And it is the second wife he marries there in Jamaica with Annette, mother of Antoinette. Uh, but he is not a far-sighted person. That's why he brought trouble for his family. Richard Mason is the son of Mr. Mason. He arranges marriage for Antoinette when, of course, when they migrate from Colibri to other place. So he is the son of that rich plantation owner. Josephine is a servant, a Jamaican servant, and she is good at practicing black magic. She is a black uh, woman who is servant at Antoinette's. Aunt Cora, a wealthy widow in Jamaica, and she for a short period she looks after Antoinette when she gets ill after she was attacked by the black people in Colibri. Emily is another servant who is very lusty and she has an eye on Rochester, her master, and she tries to develop illicit relation with him. So she is not a very good character. So these are some major characters that major and minor characters that we are going to come across throughout the novel. And the story, as we have already talked, that it was written in response to Jane Eyre, so that Bertha Mason who was a lunatic Creole and considered a creature, and she was not given a life. So Jean Rees thought that she should be given a life. So she gave life to that Creole in her novel White Sargasso Sea. And we would see that we would draw a parallel between Antoinette and Bertha Mason's character. So the story is quite similar, although it keeps intact its own artistic features. Being a novel, it is appreciated. Still, it has got some parallels with Jane Eyre because it is a rewriting of that novel. One of rewriting is, one of the post-colonial themes that we have discussed. Well, in part one of White Sargasso Sea, we come to know about the family of Antoinette. We see that Antoinette is living with her mother Annette and her brother Pierre at Colbury. They're living at that place, and their family is void of their father or the paterfamilia because Mr. Causeway has just died, and they are without the head of the family. So after the Emancipation Act, the local people scorned them. Emancipation Act means it was the abolition of slavery because black people were no longer kept as slaves to look after the plants because the plantation trade was owned by largely by Creoles or the white people, and these Creoles were the masters of the black, and they would play an intermediary role in order to control those black people. So that act, that Emancipation Act, uh, freed black people, and in this way they detest or they started hating their masters. And these Creoles were their immediate masters. That's why they were the victims who were, at the mercy of these black people all the time because they were surrounded by them. Um, So when this Abolition Act came, so plantation trade also decreased and dwindled. For that reason, many of the people in depression they left the place or they committed suicide. And Mr. Literal is one of those people who committed suicide, and but on the other hand, Annette has got a strong character, and the mother of Antoinette has got a strong character. She tries to live a normal life, but unfortunately, she becomes a victim of black people. Whenever she goes out, she is the center of the gaze, and people stare at her and they, call her bad names. So she also is worried about her future. So, as an act of retaliation, some black people poisoned Annette's horse, and she is of the view that Godfrey, one of her servants, knows who has poisoned the horse, but he would not tell Annette who has done that. Pierre has a mysterious disease. Pierre, the brother of Antoinette and son of Annette, has a mysterious disease and in which he is unable to speak and walk. So mother Annette is worried about that child because she has a strong bond with that boy. So she makes him the center of her attention all the time. And Antoinette is neglected most of the time, and mother is unwilling to talk to her all the time because she gives more time to Pierre than Antoinette. So being neglected, Antoinette luckily or unluckily spends most of her time with Christophine. And Christophine, of course, she talks in her local language and she tries to console her. Meanwhile, there is a girl, Tia, a black girl, who chases Antoinette and calls her bad names, and she calls her white nigger and say white cockroach because this was quite common among black people to scold the white Creoles. So Tia chases Antoinette, calling her a white Creole, a cockroach, but later they become friends. So their friendship develops, but this friendship would not last longer because this is not even friendship, but an unbalanced friendship that we would see that would end um, you know in a short trifle that we would discuss in detail. So when they become friends, Tia bets Antoinette for an underwater somersault, and she bets her that Antoinette is unable to do underwater somersault. So she, uh, meanwhile, Antoinette is in the water. She takes away the money and the clothes of Antoinette with her, leaving her cloth at the place of Antoinette's cloth. So uh, when she reaches home in Tia's dress, there were guests around who mock her or who laugh at her, and then Annette tries to um, comfort her by giving her another dress that she has made. Although she was poor, but she managed to have another dress because she thought that Annette has sold her ring to buy that dress. So she gets a new dress. Uh, at the same night, when she sleeps, she was woken up by a nightmare that she sees that somebody attacks her, and she tries to um, react to that or retaliate to that attack but she was unable to because she thought that she was paralyzed, and she was woken up with her own shriek. But when Annette came around, she asked her to be quiet because her brother was sleeping. So she did not give much attention to Antoinette's nightmare. Meanwhile, Annette weds Mr. Mason, who is a rich plantation owner, and who is of the view that local people are lazy, and he would bring the team of efficient workers from somewhere else. So, and it tells her that he should be quiet and he should not talk in front of the servants because the servants would talk this thing to their community, and in this way, the community may be angry at it. So she would not approve of her talking openly in front of servants about the workers. Uh, after Annette and Mason returns from their honeymoon, after the marriage, they start living together. Antoinette, Annette, Mr. Mason, Pierre, they start living together. But uh, Annette has got certain reservations living there because she could sense the danger in the eyes of the black people who are living around them. So that was not sensed by Mr. Mason. He was not a far-sighted person, as I've talked earlier, and he would not prefer to leave that place. Although Annette wants him to leave that place, and Toynbee does not want to leave that place, but he is not willing to go elsewhere because he thinks that as long as white government and people are there, everybody is safe. So this is not the case. This was an illusion that he has developed. So meanwhile, everybody is living uh, routine life or normal life. So all of a sudden, Annette feels that she should not have left Pierre with Myra um, because she was black and she detests white Creole people. So he is in danger. There might be some trouble. So meanwhile, Antoinette hears some creaking sounds from bamboos, and she feels that danger is approaching. So while they were in the living room, all of a sudden the house was set on fire when Annette goes to. the room of Pierre, and she tries to rescue Pierre and come out. So it was the fire that was set by the black people or the local people in order to avenge the cruelties of their white masters. So now they were in real trouble because people were standing out of their house and they were all ready to attack them. And on an inquiry of Mr. Mason, they told them that they should quit this place all of a sudden. So this happens when they were leaving. There is an episode of Tia and Antoinette. Antoinette tries to live, or she is of the view that they should not leave, and because that place belongs to them, and she has an identity there, but they have to leave because the local people or the black people would not accept them as their equal because they were their former masters. And now, since these black people have been emancipated or they have been freed from that cruel slavery, now they have every right to take revenge. So that was a trouble for them. So feeling, she thought that Tia is still her friend and she would reunite with Tia and she would live with Tia, she thought, and she ran towards her because she thought that she was her friend. But she did not know that Tia had a stone in her hand, and she also she did not know that when she held that stone at her, and she only realized when it started bleeding from her face and she started crying. So both Tia and Antoinette started to cry. There may be two interpretations for that. One is that Tia belonged to another race. That's why she did not accept that Creole. That's why she held a stone at her. This might be one interpretation. Other might be this that Tia did not uh, want Antoinette to leave that place because she was her friend and she wanted her to stay because both were crying and the tears were on their face. So this was the story till this point we have discussed that started with the identity crisis because Annette is living at a place where people no longer respect her and people think that she does not belong here because she was a Martinique girl, and Martinique Creoles are hybrid creatures and they're not considered worth appreciating because they were considered by black they were considered as the representative of white, but by white they are considered inferior. So they're somewhere in between. So they're this liminal position, a position where they belong neither to one place nor to other. So this lurking somewhere in between is very dangerous or pricking for them because in Toynet and Annette, they feel fish out of water because they want to live there and they think that they belong there. But the black people living there or the black race would not accept them as their own. On the other hand, the white people would not accept them as their own. So they are somewhere in between. So this identity crisis is quite uh, evident in the first part of the novel we have just discussed. So we're just stopping till this point because we will discuss in detail some other um, events that happened. So I want you to go through this novel and this first part uh, at least to see the after effects of Emancipation Act and the racial difference between black and Creole, between Creole and white. Because we are going to the first part is largely foreshadow it's foreshadowing the upcoming events. We would see that what troubles are coming on our way, and uh, what are the racial differences that have been portrayed by the writer or the narrator. Thank you very much.